5 small behaviors that quietly push women away from you. Most relationships don't end because of one huge mistake. They end because of dozens of small ones. That's what surprises most men. They think attraction disappears after a big argument, a betrayal, or one terrible decision. Sometimes that's true, but more often, attraction fades quietly. One small habit at a time, one conversation at a time, one reaction at a time. The dangerous part is that these habits rarely feel harmful in the moment. In fact, many of them come from good intentions. You think you're showing how much you care. You think you're being loving. You think you're doing everything right. But without realizing it, those same behaviors can slowly change the way someone feels about you. Think about watering a plant. If you forget to water it once, it probably survives. But if you slowly neglect it every day, eventually it begins to die. Attraction often works the same way. It usually doesn't disappear overnight. It fades through repeated experiences. Today, we're going to talk about 5 small behaviors that quietly push women away. Not because women are impossible to understand, but because human psychology responds to confidence, emotional stability, and self-respect in ways many men overlook. If you recognize any of these habits in yourself, don't panic. The goal isn't to feel guilty. The goal is to become aware. Because once you become aware, you can begin changing them. Let's start with one of the biggest mistakes men make without even noticing. Number 1. Constantly looking for reassurance. Everyone enjoys feeling loved. Everyone appreciates encouragement. There's nothing wrong with wanting reassurance occasionally. The problem begins when reassurance becomes a daily requirement. Imagine this. Every few hours you're asking, "Do you still like me? Are we okay? Is something wrong? You still love me, right?" At first, she may happily answer. But over time, those questions begin communicating something you never intended. Instead of hearing, "I care about you," she may begin hearing, "I don't believe I'm enough unless you constantly remind me." That's a very different message. Healthy confidence comes from within. It doesn't depend entirely on another person's approval. This doesn't mean pretending you never have doubts. It means learning to manage those doubts without making someone else responsible for fixing them every day. One of the most attractive qualities in any relationship is emotional security. Someone who enjoys love, but whose entire emotional state doesn't depend on constant validation. That creates peace instead of pressure. Number 2. Making her the center of your entire life. When people first fall in love, it's natural to spend more time together. That's healthy. But some men slowly begin giving up everything else. Their hobbies disappear. Their friendships fade. Their goals become less important. Their happiness becomes completely dependent on one person. At first, this may seem romantic. But over time, it creates enormous pressure. Think about it. If one person becomes your entire world, then every disagreement feels like the end of everything. Every delayed reply feels devastating. Every canceled plan ruins your day. That's not love. That's emotional dependence. Strong attraction usually grows between two people who both have meaningful lives. Each person brings something unique into the relationship. Each person continues growing. Each person maintains friendships, interests, ambitions, and purpose. A relationship should add to your life. It shouldn't replace your life. Ironically, the more complete your life becomes outside the relationship, the healthier the relationship often becomes. Because you're choosing each other, not depending on each other for your entire identity. So far, neither of these habits has anything to do with looks, money, height, or saying the perfect words. They're both about emotional habits. And the next one is even more common because most men believe they're helping the relationship, when they're actually making attraction weaker without realizing it. Number 3, over-explaining everything you do. Have you ever noticed how some people feel the need to justify every decision they make? They explain why they were 5 minutes late. They explain why they didn't answer a text immediately. They explain why they were busy. Then they explain the explanation. Many men do this without realizing it. Why? Because they're afraid of being misunderstood, or they're worried she'll think less of them. So they try to remove every possible doubt. At first, this might seem thoughtful, but over time, it can communicate something completely different. It can suggest that you're constantly looking for approval. Think about someone who quietly says, "I was busy. I'll call you later." Now compare that to someone who spends 10 minutes trying to convince you they had a good reason. Who seems more confident? Usually, it's the first person. Confident people don't feel the need to defend every decision they make. That doesn't mean becoming rude or refusing to communicate. If you've genuinely made a mistake, own it. Apologize. Learn from it. Then move forward. But don't develop the habit of constantly proving your innocence over small things. People are often more interested in your confidence than your explanation. Sometimes a short, honest answer carries far more strength than a long speech. Number 4. Saying yes when you really mean no. Many men believe agreeing with everything makes them easier to love, so they avoid disagreement. They cancel their own plans. They ignore their own needs. They tolerate disrespect. They accept behavior that clearly bothers them. Why? Because they're afraid that setting boundaries will push her away. Ironically, the opposite is usually true. Healthy relationships require honesty. And honesty sometimes means saying, "I can't make it today. I don't agree with that. That doesn't work for me." A man who never expresses his own needs slowly disappears inside the relationship. He becomes someone who's always trying to keep the peace, even if it means losing himself. Over time, that creates frustration, not only for him, but often for the relationship itself. Self-respect isn't selfish. It's healthy. People naturally respect someone who values their own time, energy, and principles. Boundaries don't exist to push people away. They exist to protect healthy relationships. Because when both people are honest about what they need, trust grows, respect grows, and attraction often grows with it. A pattern most men never notice. Here's what's interesting. Neither of these behaviors seems dangerous on its own. Over-explaining once isn't a problem. Saying yes once isn't a problem. The issue is repetition. Human psychology responds to patterns. If someone repeatedly sees you doubting yourself, constantly apologizing, or ignoring your own needs, they begin forming an impression, not because they're trying to judge you, but because repeated behavior becomes part of how they experience you. That's why confidence isn't one big action. It's the result of many small actions repeated consistently. Every conversation, every decision, every boundary quietly shapes how people see you. We've covered 4 subtle behaviors that slowly weaken attraction. Now comes the final one, and in many ways, it's the most important, because it affects almost every relationship without people even realizing it's happening. Once you understand it, you'll begin seeing it everywhere. Number 5. Letting your emotions depend on her every move. This is probably the biggest silent attraction killer of them all. Imagine this. She replies to your message within 5 minutes. You're happy. She takes a little longer the next day. Suddenly, your mood changes. You begin wondering, did I do something wrong? Is she losing interest? Is she talking to someone else? You check your phone every few minutes. You replay your last conversation in your head. By the time she finally replies, you've already imagined 10 different problems that don't even exist. Sound familiar? Many men unknowingly allow another person's behavior to control their emotions. When she's affectionate, they're confident. When she's busy, they're insecure. When she gives attention, they feel valuable. When she doesn't, they begin questioning themselves. That's exhausting, not only for you, but for the relationship. Emotionally grounded men don't let every text message determine their self-worth. They understand that people have jobs, families, responsibilities, bad days, moments when they're simply unavailable. They don't immediately assume the worst. They give people the benefit of the doubt while continuing to live their own lives. That emotional stability creates something incredibly attractive: peace. Because relationships thrive when 2 emotionally secure people choose each other, not when one person's happiness depends entirely on the other's daily behavior. Why these small habits matter so much. Here's something many people don't realize. Attraction isn't usually lost in one dramatic moment. It's shaped by repeated emotional experiences. Every interaction answers silent questions. Does this person respect themselves? Do I feel relaxed around them? Can they handle uncertainty? Do they have confidence without needing constant reassurance? Do they have their own purpose? Do they bring peace or pressure? These questions are rarely spoken aloud, but they're constantly being answered through your actions. That's why small habits matter, because over weeks, months, and years, small habits become your character, and your character shapes every relationship you build. What to do instead? If you recognized yourself in one or more of these behaviors, don't be discouraged. Awareness is where change begins. Instead of constantly seeking reassurance, build confidence through your own actions. Instead of making one person your entire world, continue investing in your goals, friendships, health, and personal growth. Instead of over-explaining every decision, speak honestly and trust that your actions will support your words. Instead of saying yes to everything, respect your own boundaries. And instead of letting someone else's mood control yours, develop emotional stability that comes from within. None of these changes happen overnight. Like any worthwhile habit, they take practice. But each small improvement makes you more emotionally mature, more confident, and ultimately, a better partner. The biggest mistake most men make. Many men believe attraction is about saying the perfect thing, finding the perfect opening line, sending the perfect text, planning the perfect date. Those things can help, but they rarely create lasting attraction by themselves. Long-term attraction grows from how someone consistently experiences you. Do they feel respected? Do they trust you? Do they enjoy your company? Do they feel emotionally safe? Can they rely on your character? Those questions matter far more than one clever conversation. Anyone can impress someone for an evening. Very few people build trust over months and years. And trust is one of the strongest foundations of lasting attraction. If there's one thing I hope you remember from this video, it's this. The habits that push people away are rarely dramatic. They're usually small, repeated, almost invisible. That's actually good news. Because if small habits can slowly weaken attraction, small positive habits can strengthen it too. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to pretend. You don't need to play games. Focus on becoming emotionally secure. Keep growing as a person. Protect your self-respect. Build a life that excites you. Learn to communicate honestly. And allow relationships to grow naturally instead of trying to force them. Ironically, the men who create the strongest attraction are often the ones who stop obsessing over attraction. They focus on becoming confident, calm, purpose-driven, reliable, and emotionally mature. Those qualities don't just improve your dating life. They improve every part of your life. So instead of asking, how do I stop pushing women away? Ask yourself a better question. What kind of man am I becoming every single day? Because when you become a man who respects himself, manages his emotions, keeps growing, and treats others well, you don't have to chase genuine connection. You naturally become someone people want to keep in their lives. Click the subscribe button, like, share, and follow for more.